Good afternoon, and on behalf of the Friday Clinical team, Happy New Year to all of you. Today's Friday meeting is with the difference. Friday Clinical meeting is with the difference. While it's got nothing to do with clinical medicine in its theoretical sense, it's got everything to do with what we do in our professional and probably personal lives, namely cybersecurity, which is something which is relevant to all of us. To enlighten this and this, we have a distinguished speaker, Ms. Chitra Elango from the United States, who's come all the way, who will enlighten us on how to keep ourselves safe in this digital age. To introduce the speaker, may I have Dr. Varghese from SGRI, who will introduce the speaker. Welcome, Ms. Chitra.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our speaker today is a senior director at Fannie Mae, which is a US government-sponsored enterprise that provides mortgage financing in the United States. She leads the vulnerability management team and is an industry-recognized cybersecurity leader, innovator, and evangelist in development security and operations, also in cyber application security and in vulnerability management. She has over 17 years experience in all phases of software development lifecycle, including application security, architecture, software development, analysis, and risk mitigation. She's been leading a world-class application security program for a top financial organization while driving innovation to enhance the company's risks and protect its critical applications. Interestingly, she also leads the Red Team at her organization. For those of us who don't know, a Red Team is a group of professionals who are authorized to test or basically hack into an organization's systems using the same tools and techniques that real-world attackers use. So the point is that she understands both the defensive and the offensive aspects of cybersecurity. She's delivered talks at various important events, such as the RSA conference. It's the world's leading cybersecurity conference. The AWS Summit, which is the United Nations event on cybersecurity, and is a recipient of various awards in this field. She's demonstrated success in developing and delivering successful, impactful projects through a combination of deep technical and also managerial skills. Applying her development knowledge to security has made a huge impact protecting the security of enterprise organizations. So today, in our current context of rapid digitization of health information, both within our institution and all across the country, there are many threats to our patients and to our institutions that arise out of the digital space. There are many threats that probably a lot of us are not even aware of. These are threats that can obstruct our services, they can bleed our finances, and they can harm our patients on a massive scale. So we're very fortunate to receive our speaker's insights at this point in time to help us develop a culture of cybersecurity. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us, and we really look forward to learning from you. Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Chitra Elango, to the stage.
Thank you. Sure. Let's down. You can use this one. That's okay. Good afternoon, everyone. That was a great write-up. I couldn't have done better, but it's made me seem, I know it all. But guess what? In cybersecurity world, nobody knows many things because it's evolving, it's changing, the landscape changes every day. But thank you again for, giving me this opportunity. Happy New Year. And it's Golden Jubilee. So congratulations, St. John's. It's very impressive. I was reading this morning's news. There are a lot of things that's been offered for the Golden Jubilee. So thank you for the great work. Coming back to, I don't know if you can hear me. I think I can hear myself, but the mic is a little away from. If you can't, please raise your hand and I can, repeat a few things. My name is Chitra Elango again. I work with Fannie Mae, like I was introduced. Fannie Mae is a backbone of United States housing economy. So you understand it's sort of related to, the health organization, because you keep, maintain, collect, store, and, distribute personal information. In the doctor's world or in the health organization, it's patients, whereas in my world with the finance, with the work I do, it's people buying homes. NPI, non-public information is the same, right? Be it finance industry, be it health organizations, or any business, data is data. So let's look at the agenda. I'm not going to read the agenda. The agenda, basically, I'll be talking today will cover general overview of cybersecurity. I think with the digitization, digital transformation, the world is going through, and especially India is going through, I'm impressed. I have to tell you, I've been impressed with the online banking because sometimes it's so secure, I myself can't access my account. So I'm impressed. When it comes to user friendliness and security, I think India is doing much better with security in terms of at least the banking systems I use. So we'll talk about the general cybersecurity awareness. How do you recognize something? What do you do? What are we trying to protect? And how can we protect with simple things that everybody can take action on? And you can look at the agenda. I'll move on to the next slide. Overview of cybersecurity. When I was a non-cybersecurity person, I thought it was the duty or responsibility and accountability of the IT department to take care of security or everything that's IT. But after I became a cybersecurity person, I felt really bad for accusing and talking, not such great things about IT department. Cybersecurity is everybody's problem. It's a shared responsibility. So the first thing is IT teams. When I say IT, it's information technology, engineering, computer, you may call it whatever your institution calls them. They can do, I think, around 65% to 70% of defending the infrastructure, defending the applications. Guess what? The remaining 35% to 30 to 35% falls on individuals like us. Everybody is part of the institution. So we need to take certain actions, or we shouldn't take few actions. We'll talk about what actions you could take, what actions you shouldn't take to protect the data of your institution. In the past, right, we had papers, we had, Excels, Word documents, but now everything is in the form of applications. People talk about web applications, or, even APIs are becoming very common. And with the artificial intelligence, ML, with all of these things, one thing is very common. What is that? Data. Information. When I say data, it could be proprietary research data. It could be, NPI, non-public data. For example, in the United States, we call it a social security number, which is very, very unique to a person. And I think it's Aadhaar number here. But one thing I've noticed here is Aadhaar card is actually asked to be provided physically, but in other countries, at least in the United States, you just need to know your SSN number, your name, first name, last name, your date of birth. That's it. With this combination, people can, steal your identity. But that still hasn't hit India, I'm assuming. But probably with the digital world, it's not far away. In the near future, we could face the same thing. So when you're giving your date of birth, or if you're giving your, Aadhaar card number, be a little, protective, be a little confidential with the information. Just don't give it to everybody and anybody that does not need it, because that's your identity in India, right? The next one is the holistic approach. This is my opinion. I'm not going to say this is what everybody in the industry thinks. I think we have to look at IT or cybersecurity as holistic. Just with technology or with the process, it's not going to make an impact. People also, so it's a combination of technology, people, and the process. The combination should work together to make cybersecurity or the risk to the company less. we can reduce the cyber incidents. It's called cyber incidents. Anything happens in the cyber world, any breach, it's called a cyber incident. So we need to act together with the technology, people, and the process. That's when it's going to be successful. I like an interactive, audience, but unfortunately with the time, most of the times I've realized I stick with just the first or second slide and I keep answering questions. So I'm going to have question and answer session at the end. But if you think you want to stop me and ask a question, please feel free to raise your hand. But we can decide if you want to move into the last section. Security objectives. I'm going to talk about these pillars. The first pillar is protect. What are we trying to protect? All of us here know it's data, right? The next one is how do you recognize there is somebody trying to, cheat you or steal your data? How do we recognize? We'll talk about that. And after that, what are the things that you could do to recognize and take action? So the whole theme for today's talk is going to be based off of this. How do we recognize? I think most of you at this point, at least, know about phishing, but I'm going to, say the different ways that a hacker can steal our data. What could we do to take action? First one is the most common is phishing. Phishing is the first step where hackers or bad actors, we don't call them hackers, we call them bad actors. We are nice people, we call them actors and we give them real nice names. So the bad actors will send you an email saying, it'll really look like an authentic email. And guess what? The best of best people have failed it, right? I'll give you a few examples. I shouldn't be saying that, but I'll use my own examples where I've failed, and we'll talk about that. So phishing, there are two types of phishing emails. One is normal people like me, people trying to hack or try to cheat. The other group is called veiling. This is meant for the executives, the big top people. It's similar to phishing, but it's called veiling because veil is a bigger form of phishing. Phishing, let me explain what phishing is. Phishing is basically you put a net and wait for a fish to be caught. It's just as simple as that. So in this case, the bad actor would send hundreds, and with the compute power that we have with the cloud, they would send millions of emails to different people, and some of us get tricked because it might seem genuine and we might take action, right? So phishing and veiling are similar, but the target audience is a little different. The next one is spoofing. Spoofing is another one. This is very common too. Sometimes you might have, gotten an email from PayPal, or, recently I got something because I moved, my IP address changed from the United States to India. And, I got an email from AWS because I use AWS services. They said your account is locked. So take action on this, enter all these things. I'm like, really? So that is something, it'll look like it's coming from PayPal or AWS or some authentic email address or organization for you to take action. And the next one is malware. This, I think, probably with certain use cases that's happened in the health organization in India, you probably might have heard of AIMS, All India Medical Sciences. I'm going to talk a little on that because it's publicly made available. I can't talk on few other use cases because it's not publicly made available. We'll touch on AIMS. AIMS very closely relates to the malware. Malware sometimes is called ransomware. It's all the same things, we use different lingos. So malware is ransomware. If you can relate to that, that's great, but we'll talk about that as well. And sometimes you must have gone to sites. Always when you go to sites, you will have to check if there is a HTTPS. S is secure. If it is not got a S, and if you're doing your banking or any kind of information where you have to provide your personal information, don't do that. Because that means it's not encrypted, it's not a secure site. We'll touch on what we mean by encryption. Encryption is basically you have a traffic. When you go to a web application, you're entering your information. While you enter your information, it goes to something behind the scenes to take action, right? So as part of that, if you are sending your personal information, if it is not secure, meaning it's not encrypted, if it is open, that means people in the industry or the bad actors could easily relate to what kind of information is being transmitted if it doesn't have an S. But if it has gibberish things like, you have so many different kinds of encryption, it becomes very difficult for people to decipher. So it becomes difficult for the bad actors to access your information. And also you might have seen a lot of pop-ups, because I am a fan of Korean dramas. I don't know if anybody here watches Korean dramas. With Korean dramas, yeah, I see some, ladies smiling there. So I agree that, yeah, they are awesome, right? So with these Korean serials, what happens is you get a lot of pop-ups. So when you go to the pop-ups, it's in a way the hacker is trying to, trick you. So when you get the pop-ups, by default, you're so engrossed in your Korean serials, you forget about the pop-up and you just start entering information for that to get rid of. Don't enter information into the pop-ups, because the pop-ups are in a way to trick you. Pop-ups should just give you information, but not ask you for information, your personal information. Okay, the next one is social engineering, the phishing. In this, one second, I'm so sorry, because of the weather, I get a little dry, so please bear with me. Thank you. So with the phishing, right, like I said, you would get an email from anybody who will look like it's authentic. As part of that, they would ask you to give certain information. And, without thinking, sometimes when you're multitasking, I'll give you an example in my case. I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm still going to say this. In my company, there is something called an award system, Beats. So as part of Beats, if you do some good work, you get some award in terms of monetary. So I ended up getting 5,000 points, which translated to around $250. I was excited and I said, well, I have to get a gift for my daughter for Christmas. Why not use this free money and get her a gift? So I placed an order for a bracelet within the system. And it took 3 weeks and I did not see the bracelet come yet. And one fine day, look at the coincidence, the bad actors are getting so smart. I got an email to my company email address saying that your package is held up. So you need to, enter all this information to release your package. I should have thought through. So what I did, I knew my package was held up and I got this email. So I connected the two and I said, yeah, it looks genuine, right? Let me enter the information. I entered my first name, last name, my address, my telephone number, the email address too. I'm like, they already had my email address. Why would I enter my email address again? And the next step, I went one step ahead. And the next step was enter your credit card information. I entered the credit card information and I said, wait a minute, this is just charging me 30 cents. Something does not, but it took me like 15 minutes after the fact, after I entered everything, to realize it's a fake one. So it could happen to even the cybersecurity people who are standing and talking to you. So don't worry, it's okay. But again, awareness. Because I had that awareness and training and I had sort of common sense, I would say, I stopped before I submitted my credit card number. Credit card number is not a big deal because I can, fight, I can dispute it and get the money back. But just imagine if I had given my debit card number. They would have had control of my debit card, right? My financial account. So that is what we need to be aware of. So the next one is, it could be pro and con too. So the other scenario is, this was a bad case where, I was sort of almost cheated. But, I became a little smarter after 2 clicks and I said, okay, I'm coming back. But one of the scenario where I got an email people are kind enough to give me awards. So, I got this email, that was my first award. And I said, who in the world would give me an award? I reported it to a phishing team of my company, but then that person was so insistent, they kept sending me emails. And I said, let me go and check. And I went and I did not click the link. See, that is the smart thing. I did not click the link that came in the email, but I went and Googled and I found a few things. And I said, oh, this looks like a genuine thing. And I went and visited, and one of the awards was for Miss Neeta Ambani, which is a familiar name. I said, oh, that means it's the real one. I would have missed my opportunity to get the award if I hadn't done the other steps. Rather than clicking, I went and did my investigation. Yeah, it took me like 10 minutes to figure out it's real. So it could help you. It could sometimes make you think. So when you get an email, step back. Look at the email. Look at what are they trying to ask you. Are they trying to ask you for personal information? Then it's a red flag. Do not click it. And the other thing is, some of us are really smart. We go and Google our bank name, and the first link that comes up, we click on that. Do not do that. You know the email, you know the address of your bank. So enter it in the browser. Do not by default click on links which pops up in Google as a first search results. So when you're giving information, if they are asking, if it is too emotional, or if they're asking for personal information, time out, step back and think. So clicking on emails is a no-no, the link, because when you click on that, guess what? There are several things that could happen. One of the things is you can provide your personal information, you can be in trouble. But the major thing in the institution and the organization, just by clicking the link, you're thinking you're just clicking the link. Guess what? The link could have malware, right? Malware is a software that can be installed, executed on your system. You might think, oh, it's just my system. Guess what? No, because your system is part of the network. Because it's part of the network, there are chances, no, not chances, 98 to 99% guaranteed that if it is installed, they can move laterally, meaning you think it's installed on your system, but because it is connected to the network, the bad actors have written the code in such a way it moves laterally. Now, guess what? There could be tens and hundreds of systems infected. Just a click. So the thought process is, when you get an email, think about it before you click the link. And if you're in doubt, I'm sure you have IT departments in your institution. You can always reach out to them and say, is this real, or should I take action? Guess what? I'm sure you might have report phishing. If not, if we have IT folks here, that is something that you could do very simple that could save the institution from risk of cyber attacks. And the simple resolution to this, what do you all think? Training, awareness. It's just that training to train your mind to say, this is an email which I don't trust. I don't have to click on that. It's just the training and awareness, right? The next one is, most companies, and it's very useful and it's very simple to implement. When it is an external email address, always have a big tag with a yellow or red to warn you to say, this is external, be aware, read it before you take action. But if it is internal, it's okay. But I'm not saying that there are no threat actors internally, but it's very rare, right? So internal, it's okay, but external, make sure you do not click the link. See, cybersecurity is so simple, right? You take few actions and you're good. So what are we trying to protect? So confidential information, any data in the digital world is information or data, but a combination of few things. For example, your first name, last name with your birthday. Birthday with the date and month is okay, but if you give the year, then it's a little, dangerous. So when somebody is asking you for your birth date, always start off with your month and date. Do not, voluntarily. I mean, I love talking, so I would give all the information. My daughter always makes fun. Within 10 minutes, the person on the street knows your full history. So don't do that, right? It's not right. So just give your name, your, month and date. Do not give your year. And within the doctor patient, right? Because this is the patients, we come to doctors with confidence saying that if something is wrong with me, this information is going to be staying with me. It's not going to be made public. So there is an act within India which says you have to, make sure the data is not. And one other thing, I've seen few doctors, not everybody, they use WhatsApp. They send screenshots with bank accounts, everything. Don't do that, because you think WhatsApp is just reaching the other person, the targeted person. Well, no, it's being transmitted through the internet, through the network. So there could be actors in the middle, the bad actors, trying to get your data. So always be careful on what you share on WhatsApp too. And again, the patient information is confidential. It's not to be made public, but that has certain exceptions too, right? And if you have to share the data, always get the consent, right? I think that's the rule. You have to get the consent of the individual, the patient, asking them, is it okay for me to share this information with X, Y, or Z? If the person says, if I were to do it, I would get it in writing, because you have certain laws in India and in the world that they could sue you later on, right? So make sure you get the consent of the patient before you can share their information. But there are certain exceptions. What are those exceptions? If they are mentally challenged or enabled in a different way, that's okay, right? Because you will have a guardian, you will have a parent if they are underage. Talk to them, it's okay, get their consent. The next one is if there is an insurance. I mean, when I grew up in India, there was no concept of insurance. We just felt sick, which we rarely went to doctors, but if we felt sick, we would go to the doctor, just visit them. But now insurance is very prominent, even in Indian companies. So if it is for insurance, again, talk to your institution legal team or the privacy team. I'm sure you have that within the IT department. Talk to them to see if it is okay for you to share this information, even if it is for insurance or a lawsuit, because you just cannot take somebody else's data and share it to the world, right? And the next one is simple things, like I mentioned. If it is confidential information, just label it. Sometimes it will say confidential information not to be shared. So just put a line item, just a line header. But I'm hoping that there is a policy within the institution. If not, highly recommend that you come up with a policy where you say, this is confidential, highly sensitive, and you can come up with the classifications of what is sensitive, what is highly sensitive, depending on your institution. So just label it. So that way, at least you're putting the disclaimer out saying that this is sensitive, it's not supposed to be distributed. The next one is storage. Even if it is paper, because most of us are not yet digitalized, or if we aren't going through the digital transformation, if you're using papers, if it is confidential, store it in a very safe place. If it is digital, put it in the file system. And what I do is, I do use which is wrong in a way, I use my office computer to store some of the important, for example, my payroll information or my tax information on my drive in a folder, but I password protected. Is it the best way? Probably not. Is it something? Definitely, because people cannot, guess and don't have your password as your first name, last name with your birthday, because many people use that. So come up with a, a creative way of your password. And sometimes I create passwords I myself forget. So it's both good and bad, but you understand what I'm trying to, get to. And after it's done its duty and also share the information only on need basis. For example, let's say you have the security, physical security guards, right? Do they need information about patients? Definitely not, right? So why would you give them the information when they don't need it? So always step back if somebody is asking, think, why do they need it? Do they really need it? And then take the action. And after it's done its use, just delete it. At least in my company, we have to save it for 7 years and then we could, delete it. I don't know about the institution policy, but they would have a policy of, delete it after X number of years, right? What are we trying to protect against? We are trying to protect against cyber attacks. Cyber attacks, I mean, I don't know, sometimes it's free money is easy, right? Why work 365 days to make money, but when you can, do a cyber crime and become a millionaire? We do have people, right? There's a big, huge dark market. It's called dark market or black market in the cyber world. So you steal data, you sell it, you make money. So we have to try and protect from the cyber attacks. Data breaches. Data breaches, the data that we store. It could be your research. It could be your personal information. If you're storing all of this information, there are bad actors who can take the data from you. It's called data loss protection. So that means you have the data, you're losing the data to somebody else, and there is to be a protection. So we are protecting the data breach or data loss protection. Reputational damage. For example, let's take, All India Medical Sciences. Yes, there were 2 threats or probably more. I'm aware of 2 of them. Don't quote me on the number of threats, but from my knowledge, there were 2 threats or cyber incidents. As part of that, it made the world news. I said, wow, All India Medical Sciences, I can relate to that. I'm from India. So reputational damage. Now people are worried that if I give my information, what is going to happen? So reputational damage, financial impact. Luckily, I think some companies, but not everybody is fortunate. So the black market folks or the bad actors steal your data, store your data or encrypt your data where you can't use it, and then ask you for money. Until you pay them, they're not going to release the data. So you could have a financial impact. It's not just that, but say, for example, if somebody sued the company because they lost their personal information, that also could translate to your financial, impact. Vulnerability management. We'll touch a little on this because, vulnerability is, like the name says, it's vulnerable. You find a weakness and the bad actors will try and exploit through that weakness. For that, what could we do? I'm going to give you a simple example of something called Log4j. I know if it is too technical, just, partial definition, pull up whatever information you can take and forget about the rest, right? So Log4j, what happened was there is a technology called Java. Most of the applications in the world were written, I mean, most, I'm not saying all, but most of it were written using Java language. Because why? It's free. Free is good, man. So we use the free technology and we wrote the applications. And from the inception of Java, we had this library called Log4j because people like me are lazy. We want to use something that's already written instead of creating something. So we use this for logging to see who entered, what kind of data what did they do basically for audit trail. This, from the inception, that library was there. But one fine day, after 20 years or 25 years, one fine day, one hacker or the bad actor decided, I'm bored with my life, I'm going to, hack this. And he tried the weakness and he or she, I don't know if it is he or she, let's give the benefit of the doubt. And this person or this group went and attacked the system. It's called something called remote code execution. I'll explain a little about what is remote code execution. When you log into your banking, the first thing is it'll ask you for username. Second is your password. Guess what, guys? If you don't have multi-factor authentication, or it's called the OTP setup, please go home and get it done. I know it's a little inconvenience, but please do that because that can save you from certain bad things. So once you log in, then it'll send you your OTP and then you will do your whatever you have to, right? You take action. But guess what? Because of this vulnerability, the bad actors found a way where you don't even need the username, you don't need the password, you don't need anything. With just the URL, they could change things, get to whatever they wanted. They could even, in a worst case, they could even transfer money from one account to the other without credentials. Do you think that's a bad thing or a good thing? It's the worst thing that can happen. So that Log4j, simple fix for that. Just update your library to the newest version. That's all it was. And we could have avoided all of these things, right? So vulnerability and viruses. I'm sure all of you all, this, cybersecurity is not just related to the institution. It also will be helpful in your personal life, right? You do banking, you do Internet of Things. Oh, I have a friend who operates washing machine while driving. I don't understand, I can't comprehend that. But with the Internet of Things, you need to have viruses installed on your systems, personal systems. I'm sure the IT department here, and I was talking to certain people here, I think St. John's is doing an amazing job at IT. I've spoken with several people, but when I spoke with them, I felt like they knew more than I did. So kudos to the team. So they should have viruses installed, or tools, McAfee, and there are a few other things. If you don't have with your home computer, make sure, I don't know how much it costs, it's very minimal, but it can save you a lot of time and money, right? And we're talking about the digital, security, but also physical security. Sometimes we are too generous. We all have the badge ID. There is a reason for a badge ID, right? You need to badge, you need to get in. But some of us are very nice, we are empathetic. We let everybody else after we badge in. So stop that, avoid that, because the bad actors could get into the physical location. And this happened. I run the red team. As part of the red team, I do a penetration, or external team comes and tests how good or bad we are, how vulnerable we are. As part of that, one of my own team members badged in, let this nice gentleman get in, and one of the computers, and they went around, and one of the computers did not have, it was open and nobody was there. So they went and they did whatever they could, right? And they were nice enough because they were hired by us. They sent an email to the entire organization saying that you're going to be hacked in 5 minutes, right? So make sure, simple thing, if you're leaving your desk, Control-Alt-Delete, lock your system. Simple things can save us a lot, right? So let's talk about the All India Medical Sciences. I'm going to take this use case because it's public. And I have to seriously, frankly tell you, there's not too much information about the cyber incident. That is one thing I've noticed. Hopefully the act that is being passed in August 2023, which was passed, it's called the Digital Personal Protection Act of August 2023. I'm really happy because in certain countries, when there is a cyber incident, they have to do a full write-up, and they have to go and talk with the Senate or whatever the big governing body is and give explanations. But with the All India Medical Sciences, I could not find a lot of detail, very basic information. And, I came up with a hypothesis. So my hypothesis could be right, or, it could be a little different. But I have to tell you, if something goes wrong, it's on my team because they also did research they couldn't find. So we came up with this hypothesis. What is the hypothesis is, you all know, AIMS, All India Medical Sciences servers were, they had a ransom attack. So what basically happened, this is, again, don't quote me on this is a hypothesis from my side. What might have happened is, it is a flat network. Most older systems have flat network. And when I say flat network, if somebody comes into your institutions or organizations network, it's very easy for them to go laterally from one computer to one server to God knows what. They can control the entire thing. So as part of the flat network, some people or a group of people, and sometimes, I have to tell you this, there are these advanced threat actors who are sometimes sponsored by the governments to, do certain things, but not everybody, accepts it, but it happens. And, some of the companies have blocked certain countries from entering into your network. It's as simple as setting your, network to say, allow this, and it's called blacklisting or whitelisting. I don't know, with so many things, the word now is approved list or disapproved list, because we are not, we cannot use the word blacklist or whitelist. So let's go with approved list and unapproved list. As part of the approved list, we'll allow certain things to happen, but as part of the unapproved one, we stop certain, countries from entering into our network, right? So what must have happened within the AIMS is there was a group that entered the All India Medical Sciences from an arbitrary location, and they were watching the traffic. And as part of that, they realized these servers probably were, with high privileges. Let's go and sort of do something so that the institution cannot use it, and let's ask them for money to release that or those servers or things on that server. So the combination is a flat server. That means there is no segments within your network. And also probably there was a weakness. It just cannot happen with network segmentation. They should have found a vulnerability or exploitation vector to get into the network. And I think I predicted this 10 years ago. People are not immediately looking for data loss. They're not just coming in, removing the data and leaving. No, they sit and watch your traffic. They actually make a logical map to say, these are the dangerous servers that this organization or this company is running on. So after they watch it, that is when they attack it and they encrypt it. Encrypt meaning they close it, they lock it, the organizations cannot use it. So they demand money. Guess what? When they demand money, we are supposed to, they think we are supposed to pay the money and, unencrypted. They'll give you the unencrypted key, you can unlock it. But what happens is they test you. If you don't provide that money, they will release a little into the dark market, because sometimes, we don't trust them. Anybody comes and tells you, I have all of your data. There's a trust issue, right? People can just make up things. But if it is genuine, they will release a little amount of data into the black market to just cause that fear. And what do we end up doing? We'll say, okay, we need to, like there was an attack on the gas station, and not the gas pipeline. They paid the money, they had to do business, they did it. But in this case, what happened was they attacked the servers. I don't know if they paid the ransom, but they segregated these servers and continued their business. I don't think they paid the ransom, but I don't know. This is again my hypothesis. If you want to read, you can just Google All India Medical Sciences, breach or cyber incident. What I have realized is in India, they do not give you the full details of what has happened. I'm hoping that in the future, because of this act, they will have that cyber incident. What actions caused this? What actions did they take to contain it? And what are they doing to make sure this doesn't happen? It's not just information for them. We in the industry can learn from other threats so that we can improvise. So that's the only intent, right? The next one is privacy and confidentiality. Privacy is the identity. Confidentiality is the information about the person. So it's just an extension. I think I did touch on this. Do not share information about the patients on WhatsApp without their consent, right? So that's one thing. And access and sharing. I did touch on this too. If somebody is asking you for information, just don't give it to them. Step back, think, why does this person need the information? What are they going to do with this information? So only access information that you need, and also only give information what the other person you think might need. Don't be too generous and give the whole, ancestral history. No. And then do not share confidential information with anybody without talking to probably the privacy and regulation team in your company. In doubt, you know what is confidential. If you want to share it, talk to them if you're in doubt. So just don't take action and then regret after the fact. Password, this is the simplest thing. Don't have 1, 2, 3 ABC. Right? Have your passwords more than 8 characters. I don't know now. I think it's 8 characters is the limit, but they are fighting, and I think it's now 12 characters. So have a song, have some mismatch of words, so you can remember. Don't have very simple passwords. Usually, what I suggest is have a rhyme or the first line of your favorite song with exclamations and apostrophe. No, apostrophe is not allowed in password. @ just be creative with your password, so that you yourself shouldn't be able to guess your password. No, that was a cynical joke, but anyway. So make it a little complicated that people cannot guess your password, and have intentional spelling mistakes in your password, right? Security mindset. I think we did speak about, a few things. Let me look at, okay. I think I did want to touch on, the act, the Personal Digital Act or Protection Act by India, August 2023. Yes, most of the companies have a framework. For example, when you're constructing a building, you need your foundation, right? You cannot just build 20, 30-story buildings without a strong foundation. So what the industry experts have done is they've come up with different frameworks. So you don't have to reinvent and come up with your own things. You can use or leverage the framework that exists. And I think the Indian government is, I know we were ruled by Britishers, right? So there's no question. They're going with the European Union, the GDPR. It's a general protection. Let me look at my notes. It's called the General Data Protection Regulation. So that is where they're going with. What does this mean? It's going to talk, just Google, it'll talk about the different things that you need to take as a company. You need to take, as an individual team member, what are the different things that you can do as part of the framework to reduce your cyber incident and reduce the risk of the company. So that is one thing. And the next one is email accounts. And I have to tell you this one scenario. One time, my husband, got like $900 or probably $1,000 bill or receipt from iTunes. And he called me and he said, "What are you buying on iTunes? $1,000. I'm like, "What is iTunes?" And then he said, "Oh, you're not using," because we share the same Apple account, but we have changed that, right? He uses his, my daughter has hers, and I use mine. But in the past, we all use the same account, and my husband did not give me the benefit of the doubt. He thought I loved listening to music, and I was using iTunes for $900. It is $1 one song, right? So 900 songs. But then we were confused because I was asking him, what is iTunes? And he realized, okay, she doesn't know what iTunes is, so it can be her. And then he called my daughter and she said, "I use my friend's iTunes account." I'm like, okay. So what we realized is my husband's LinkedIn profile, right? LinkedIn profile, he had his username, password, and he used the same username, password, guess what, for his iTunes account. So his LinkedIn account was hacked. And somebody with the compute world, and this was like probably 10 years ago, I think. So the compute world was not that stabilized, but it was there. AWS was still there with several, things happening in the AWS world. I'll talk about what is AWS world a little because I know I'm talking to, doctors and, non-technical to a certain extent. I'll speak about that. So what happened, we realized LinkedIn account was hacked and these bad actors used that account and started spraying. It's called password spraying or password credential spraying. So they used that and they started, sending it to LinkedIn, Facebook, and luckily he didn't have Facebook and other things. So it was just that iTunes, and they were able to log in to iTunes and they started purchasing. Guess what? The traffic after we disputed, that is why you have to use credit card, guys. I tell you, use credit cards because you can always dispute and fight your battle. This is my opinion. Don't quote me on this disclaimer. This is my opinion, not my company's. I use credit card because even if something happened, we can always dispute and get your money back. But if you had your debit card, it's a big problem, right? So we had to fight with the credit card company. We got the $900, but then we learned a great lesson saying that don't use the same username and password for your Facebook, for your LinkedIn, for your banking. You could use for social media probably one account because there are too many accounts and we keep a paper. We write all the accounts. But yeah, for social media, have one account, but for your banking, if you have 5 banks, if you're rich and 5 banks, great. Have different, username could be same, but passwords have different. And always make sure to not recycle. Recycle is the wrong word. Change the password every, I would be happy if you did, once in 3 months. I know, I'm a hypocrite. I said this, but I haven't changed mine in 6 months, but I'm going to go back and do that. So change your passwords, keep updating. Even if they got your old password, guess what? They might have trouble getting into. And also we learned something today, right? Have a 8-character password with all these jumbled up, special characters with names and phrases. So do not use your same account, same credentials for all accounts. Mainly keep your banking separate from your social media. And one other thing, what I've noticed is recently, I can't talk about it a lot, but I'm going to call it as a case study. Just before leaving, and hackers, I don't know, I keep telling people, hackers should have code of ethics. They shouldn't, attack systems on Friday afternoon or holidays. No Christmas, no. Seriously, every time I think they know we are all very busy, they always start the attacks. And guess what? We have to spend the whole, Friday, Saturday, Sundays, weekends, sitting there. And just before Christmas, before I was leaving, there was this company which we do business with. And it was really messed up. We had, again, ransomware. We couldn't get data. They lost a lot of transaction money. By the time they realized their money was lost, it was a lot of hassle, but you always reconcile the data, but that's different. But it was a lot of time waste and a lot of tension. Guess, simple thing. It looks like, again, this is still the cases going on. They're trying to figure out what happened, but the hypothesis again is Facebook, one of the team members, we love to post where we are, what we are doing. We are in the, Cancun spending our vacation. This person put out, saying that this person was on the beach, enjoying vacation. That was on the Facebook. And guess what? Somehow they got the username of this individual who was enjoying in Cancun, and they called the help desk of the company. And they made it sound, AI is great. AI is great. I'm not complaining about that, but AI can change your voice and make it sound like real, somebody's in a crisis. And this person said, I'm on vacation in this place, but I need, to do something immediately. It's an emergency. I need to reset the password. Guess what? The help desk should be training again, awareness. It's not just us, the IT people also sometimes, I don't know what happened. This nice gentleman, probably it was Christmas time, and said, I'll be nice, I'm empathetic. He changed the password. Guess what? That person who was a bad actor logged in using the credential, new password, even the password, when you change, usually you will get an email saying that your password has changed if your company is doing the right thing. But this person just, gave the password. This is what your password has changed to. And there we go. There was a lot of loss, and now, they're investigating. This is a hypothesis. So Facebook, yes, post everything. But again, this is personal information, right? Not anything related to the institution. Also have your Instagram or I don't know. It's all my daughter. I'm not a social, what do you say? Social website person, let's call it that. But keep it private so that only your close friends probably, will get to know and take action. So do not post publicly where you are, which company. So they linked in the LinkedIn and your Facebook and do. So be careful on what you share. And the other thing I've seen is people use or send information from their institution to their personal accounts. Don't do that. I mean, your institution information is your institution. It's proprietary to your institution. So think about sending it, think many, many times, because in my company, even for this presentation, I had to go through legal communications, and to send this email to, the outside of the organization, I had to talk to my one other team called threat detection and response, saying that I'm going to send it outside. So don't catch me and, do an inquiry. So it's that strict in some places, but I'm not saying that it's strict everywhere. But as individuals, we need to take certain basic actions. Why would you want to send your institution information to your private or even your private Google Docs and store it? Internet, we think, is just my username, my password. No, it's once it's out on the internet, eventually, yes. And some of the kids I've seen, and this is again personal, I'm sure some of you here have kids, teenagers, little ones. They have this, luckily it's banned. TikTok has banned it. My daughter sent me a TikTok. It says it's banned. I'm like, wow. But they, post all these dances, whatever it is on the YouTube. Make sure the kids know what safety is, because they think it's just temporary, but once it's out on the internet, it's public, it's going to be there, right? So security mindset, basic things. The next one is, like I said, passwords, right? Have different passwords for different people. And the other thing, which is very common, I've seen here in trains and buses, I've seen that people use the public, even in coffee shops, people use the public Wi-Fi's. It's okay, but if you're doing something very secure, avoid using the public Wi-Fi's, because one of the testing I did during COVID was I walked in because it was empty, and I literally, to prove a point for Red Team, which I run, I plugged in a malicious drive as part of my printer, right? Because it could happen. So make sure you're not doing business or banking or your proprietary institution information while you're on the public Wi-Fi in Starbucks or whatever coffee shop, whatever it is. Use VPN. You could use the Wi-Fi, but also use VPN, because once you use your institution's VPN, it becomes secure when it comes to the network. Am I boring you all with a lot of talk? No? Okay, cool. If I am, please let me know, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to still continue. But the next one is, I said multi-factor authentication. It's the simplest. Yes, I log into my system every morning and I go to different browsers. It'll ask me multi-factor authentication. It's a pain, but guess what? It's one of the best things you can do. Have multi-factor authentication, your phone number, email, whatever it is. It's MFA, multi-factor authentication. We use Duo. I'm not promoting a tool here, but that's what we use. I don't know what you use, but I'm sure you have the OTP. Man, I have to tell you, I was doing banking, trying to send money to one of the charity organizations. I was like, I don't want to do charity because it became so complicated. It was asking me for 5 different OTP numbers, which is nice, but it's not user-friendly. But what I'm trying to allude to is multi-factor authentication is very important. Please, if you don't have it, please go home and make that as a important thing that you need to take action today. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is, I think I did cover most of it. I'm sorry, I'm making notes because I'm basically on vacation. So, I'm making notes. Don't be offended if I'm looking at the notes. But yeah, the next one is, we'll talk about mobile security. We spoke about mobile security. All of us have. For me, in my perspective, your mobile is not different from your laptop to your computer at school or college. It's not different because hackers are hacking. They just need a venue or a vector to get into your thing. So mobile security, again, multi-factor authentication. I use facial ID, and my God, if I don't wear my glasses, it doesn't recognize me. But it's a good thing. So every time I have to wear my glasses and I'm like, okay, it's me. So have your facial ID, and at least my, phone doesn't allow me to have the, thumb, the finger authentication. In the past, I did have, but if you have that, use your facial ID or your thumbprint or your fingerprint, it's called. Set that up. And also as a backup, you can have your passcode, and don't have your your passcode as 1112222. Have it something, and also no date of birth, right? Because people can guess it. Have something a little different. So set that up. Again, there is nothing different with the mobile or the web application, your computer, laptop. Security is security. Keep your system updated with the patches. It's as simple as having your servers patched or your applications patched. That can solve, at least, in my opinion, hackers are very smart these days. They know the network. Everybody's taking care of the network. It's just like your house, right? We all have locks and, barricades on our front door. Guess what? Sometimes we leave a small, the other day I was, walking around, I saw a cat walk by. I'm like, everything is locked. But guess what? There was a small window open, right? So make sure that, you have everything, not only your main door, but also the small things. The small things, what I mean is patches. So keep them patched and up to date so that hackers don't use libraries or bad things to get in and hack. Strong passwords, multi-factor authentication. And the next one is, do not store your institution data on your mobile phones. And I have to tell you this is something which is wrong. My company, avoids, you cannot, copy and paste from my company's Teams chat. That's what we use, into my personal. But I can copy from my personal to the Teams chat. But guess what? I have seen some people take screenshots. But I think we need to, that is a security threat, right? So I'm thinking, if anybody is entrepreneur and wants to start a business in IT, you can think of how you can solve that problem. I don't know the answer. Probably people have thought just like me. I don't know, but if anybody is interested, you can look at that. Artificial intelligence is, what do you say, the buzzword, machine learning, artificial intelligence, robotics. From my opinion, it's one of the best things. I'll tell you this. I think I was talking to someone just before the talk. I had to write a code, and the code was to try and find if there are bad actors doing something bad to the system. Guess what? I went to ChatGPT, generative AI, and I said, I need infrastructure to write ransomware. I mean, that's the wrong thing to do, but it would have taken my team and I 2 weeks to write this code, the whole infrastructure. it just gave us in 2 hours with all the tweaks. I'm like, wow. And my daughter calls me and says, Mommy, guess what? I wrote my entire, and colleges support this. At least my daughter's college said, some of the professors say, I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. They say, use generative AI. It's okay. I'm like, really? I don't know. I can't comprehend that. But she said, there's something called Chat GPT, and I'm writing my, I'm like, time out. We need to have a talk with your professor. But you know what? I think they learn. It's different ways, but at least from my perspective, it's a pro and a con. Pro, it just took me 2 hours. And my team was like, are we going to be fired tomorrow? Because this is doing everything. I'm like, no, we'll find something better to do. So if with AI and everything, don't worry. If we thought living in caves and building buildings, we would have still lived in caves. Innovation is good, but innovation and security sometimes have a tug of war. But if we do things the right way, like simple things, not clicking on the email or phishing or setting your passwords and changing your passwords and things, having MFAs and having the patches, having your antivirus, if you take the right actions, I don't think you have to be scared of anything. And if we were scared of living in 10-story or 20-story buildings, we would have still been in caves and hunting, right? No, we have changed, we have evolved. Are we complaining that we have evolved from living in the caves? No, life has gotten better and we are focusing on other things like Korean serials, right? But yeah, so life has evolved. Similarly, you need to look at AI as pros and cons. The pros is you can use that AI, generative AI or open AI, to get your basis, but look at everything to see if it is safe. Only if it is safe, use it. The other thing I've noticed with people is, where do you think generative AI is getting the data? It's people like you and me entering information, right? So be very careful on what you even ask the Chat GPT or what you post, because that information is used for the artificial intelligence. So be very careful on what you are putting in. There was this one team member, in a different company who just, said, this is my code, I need testing. And guess what? The person had the username and password. When you're developing code, you just put your credentials without using the vault to store it. Guess what? The password and username was outside, right? Used by the AI. So be careful on what, I'm not saying don't use it, but use common sense, right? What can you post? Things like that. And one other thing we all need to know is, this is general information, denial of service. Denial of service is if there is a vulnerability and people are sending a lot of traffic to your institution and it's jamming the institution. It's denial of service is just one server. It's not really bad, but just imagine they sent a lot of traffic to attack different servers. It's going to be DDoS, right? That means your entire organization, institution could come to a standstill. So why I'm repeating that point is, think before you take simple actions. That's all I'm requesting. And the next one is AI can also, it's used for good things. Great. It wrote my ransomware, script in 2 hours. But guess what? It can also be trained to, send the attacks as a bad actor. So everything a coin has two sides. It's pros and cons, right? So think about how you're using it. And I think robotic surgery is very, very, famous. It makes simple, and I think COVID has made the telemedicine and remote medicine, available. And I think it's all great things. But again, use a company with robotics when they're creating robotics. What is robotics? It's code behind the scenes. Make sure the codes are scanned, it's all updated, patched. And I think robotics is great. It can do all the basic things. And we can, you, not we. You as doctors can focus on much better things, right? So everything has a pros and cons, but if we did everything right, we should be good. Cybersecurity is, if anybody is looking for cybersecurity jobs, it's one of the best jobs because hackers are getting smarter. You will have jobs. And that's why I said I'm going to retire probably when I'm 90 because I'll still have a job in cybersecurity. That's a small, pitch if you have anybody outside, looking for jobs. And credits, I speak, it's my team has done the work. And I mean, this is all my slides, but my team does a lot of work. And I Googled and I went through, not the first link, but I went through several links to get the information. So credits here. And yes, questions. If you'd, oh, cool. Good afternoon.
That is absolutely amazing talk. And doctors, they have a lot of everything.
I'm so sorry, I'm not able to hear you very well. Or probably that's working and my ears are blocked.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So let me begin by thanking you for an amazing talk. Kept us glued to our seats. Each topic that you covered was very pertinent. I have a couple of questions. Actually, I have 4 doubts. Quickly ask you.
I charge $5 a question.
I request the management to fund that.
Go ahead.
The first important is the thing called cookies. Wherever you log in, even our journal websites and all, every page keeps asking about cookies, and wherever possible, I say reject all, but they don't give you an option, and they say, okay, only essential, and it takes another step. But what damage can cookies do is one question.
So cookies basically, damage wise, it's okay. You have, for example, you're logged into this happens to me a lot. I was researching my daughter's master's. She's planning to do her master's. I was researching a master's program, and most of the sites, asked accept all cookies or, what do you say, customize your cookies or reject all. And, I said, I don't have time. I'm going to accept all cookies. Guess what? My Facebook, my other things started connecting my research and saying, oh, you're interested in computer science, master's. And I was like, wow, my Facebook is connected. I didn't know it was all, but it was one system. It's the same IP. You see what happened? This cookie is collecting information to see what you're hitting, what your logic is for ads, for advertisements. So mainly it's for, I reject all cookies, default. And you don't have to do that. You can go in your browser setting itself and change few things. So it wouldn't pop up as often. So cookies is mainly for, what do you say, marketing, advertising, things like that. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Another question is on going incognito window. So when you some suggestion that you can open and incognito and then nobody tracks you. So how safe is that incognito?
You see, it probably is safe. It's much better than nothing. But when a hacker tries to get hold of your system, guess what? Nothing is safe. If it is there, use it. And what I do is, this is Windows. I would say it is safe for now. But if your system or your network is hacked, there's no safety, right? The other piece is, I don't know if people know there is a browser called DuckDuckGo. Yeah, I know. So the great part about DuckDuckGo is it talks something similar to the question you asked. It doesn't track. Nobody will know what you're doing because it's very private. They say it is, but if the hacker gets hold of the browser or your Windows, you're doomed. So it is safe until it is hacked by a hacker.
On a similar thing, when we do a login into a banking account, it says use a virtual keyboard rather than your own keyboard. How safe is that?
Yeah, I haven't personally experienced. I never gotten that. So I don't know, but I would prefer the hardwired keyboard rather than the virtual, because if you're using Wi-Fi, when it is virtual, it's all Wi-Fi, right? It's sort of a little open compared to the physical. I don't know the exact answer, how safe, but I can get back to it because I've never experienced. That's interesting. I've never experienced a virtual keyboard. And I would stick with the physical keyboard if it was for me, because physical is literally, again, if you're using a Wi-Fi keyboard, it doesn't matter. Your virtual is same too, similar to your, but stick with your actual keyboard. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you for your patient answers. The last question is things like LinkedIn says sign in through your Google account.
Yeah.
Is that safe?
Sure. So there is something called federated, right? Say, for example, I have Facebook, I have LinkedIn. Let's take a different example, much easier. How do you use Google Docs? Google. See, all students, most of them use. So let's take that example. So with Google Docs and your Gmail account, okay, or your LinkedIn. So you have all these social medias. Instead of having one username for your Facebook, one user or credentials for your LinkedIn, one for your Google Docs, what the industry has done is they have called something called federated. Federated meaning they have signed contracts saying that, hey, LinkedIn, hey, Facebook, hey, Google Docs, we have a partnership. How do you think these websites work? They're all basically APIs, right? So these companies have created a contract saying that if they're logged into, Facebook, they can also go use the other things. It's one login for everything. I don't see a big problem, but I wouldn't use the same social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those things with your banking. I doubt your banking will say use your Google or yeah, exactly. So with your social media, it's safe enough. And because they have signed a treaty, it's all through the back end, through APIs. It's called federated. That's the model. Because people like me, I don't remember what happened 1 hour ago. So just imagine I'm having too many passwords, right? If you're very active. It's safe with the federated model. Yep. Cool. So I'm going to get 4 questions, 5 questions. No. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah.
I have a few queries. And first one would be like, what are private aspects here to pursue cybersecurity? And are there any courses with private?
Sure. So I shouldn't say this, but cybersecurity is one of who are like solving mysteries. I love solving mysteries. I grew up reading Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys and Agatha Christie. Cybersecurity is something similar to mystery solving because every day things are changing. Every day people are getting smarter. As hackers are getting smarter, we defenders have to get smarter too. So cybersecurity, in my perspective, yes, AI can do certain things, but cybersecurity jobs, you need a human eventually. So cybersecurity is one of the safest, and I'm convincing my daughter to get into cybersecurity. So you can imagine, right? Very secure job. Within cybersecurity, people have a notion that, it's just attackers defending. No, cybersecurity is very vast. For example, access management is one pillar. And if you don't like coding and things like that, there is risk and governance, right? Which is theory, which is the easier part, coming up with your frameworks, policies. Then you have your application security, which talks about securing your application. And you can connect with me offline and I can give you all of the information because I mentor students and I can provide you that. The number of opportunities in cybersecurity is vast, and there are different groups or pillars you can choose from depending on your interest. And the other question you asked was courses. In what I say is courses, is a stepping, for me, this is my opinion again. every degree is a stepping stone to your next one. Eventually, it's a career, right? So in cybersecurity, it doesn't really matter if you did X, Y, or Z, but you need to have the basic understanding of computers, about networking. There are courses, you have Udemy, you have so many other, you don't have to go to college to, become an expert. I started my life as a, computer engineer with coding. I got an opportunity in cybersecurity. I did not know anything in cybersecurity 10 years ago. But today, I'm standing here and, talking about cybersecurity. So that can give you a perception, right? So with that, it's just few courses with networking, computers. If you have that, then you can decide which field you want in cybersecurity and take those extra courses and get a career. You can connect with me offline. I'm on LinkedIn, Chitra Elango, and, I can help you. I can guide you.
Next question.
Will give opportunity to one more person, and then I think we can talk also.
Yeah. Connect with me on. Yeah, or I'll be outside. You can connect with me. I can give you my personal email. You can reach out and I can help you. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, I can.
So I want to know how safe is using password managers.
Oh.
Also that somebody comes up with his own comment.
Yes, personally, I don't use it. But it's great. Password, because the beauty about it is it keeps changing. In general IT, password vault or password manager is very, very important, and we recommend that. We highly recommend for applications. So within your browser, you can use that because it keeps changing every time, right? You can use that, but I personally prefer my own password. And what I do is I do most of my work on my iPad or my phone. There is a utility where you can save it on your phone because your phone is yours, right? So I use that, but I usually, don't use the, auto-generated one within the browser, but I don't see a problem. But there are products that do that. If it was a paid product, you get what you pay for, right? You can use it, but with banking, I still would have everything under my control. For Facebook and things like that, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's safe, but personally, I wouldn't go with it because I need to have control of my passwords. Did I answer your? Cool. But yeah, thank you very much. If I could take 2 minutes, thank you very much for this opportunity, Dr. Tony and Dr. Sridhar. I always have presented in several conferences, but this is amazing. The setup is, when I walked in, I was a little, wow, this is awesome. So this is really nice. And I just wanted to take 2 seconds to thank Dr. Sridhar. Today who I am is because of Dr. Sridhar. So he's my, I know I become a little emotional, but sorry about that. But yeah, he was the one, who pushed me into computers, and, my family, and my family is always very supportive. So thank you, Dr. Sridhar, for being there too. He's my life guide. Yeah. Yeah, always wanted to, give him, because I've always given my professional career. When I get an award, I've always given kudos to my professional, mentors, but I always wanted to give kudos to my family. And this was the best opportunity in my country. So thank you. Hope I did justice to, you all learned something. So you're all going to go password change, multi-factor authentication, antivirus on your systems, right? And I will connect with the lady there to provide the information. So thank you all again. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I have to tell you, Dr. Tony is so calm, and I was like, my New Year resolution is I have to be like calm as Dr. Tony. He is awesome. You know, when I was talking to him on, communicating, he was like the calm one. I was like, ooh, jumping. But thank you, Dr. Tony. And thank you everyone for putting through this. This is awesome. I usually, don't look at the slides there, but this is awesome. Thank you.